There she is. 60 years, well, not quite, 59, because this was 1953. She, of course, took over in 1952 in the actual coronation ceremony in June of 1953, Westminster Abbey, Coronation Day, Queen Elizabeth II. Louis Saint Laurent was Canada's Prime Minister, Vincent Massey, Canada's Governor-General. And CBC showed the historic ceremony. It was the first time anything like this had ever been shown on television. It was an international media event. Fast forward to that, to today, or from that to today, 60 years on, not Vincent Massey, but Canada's Governor-General, the 28th, David Johnston, who is with me this morning here in our studio. It's always a pleasure to see you, Your Excellency. Thank you for coming in.
Delighted to be with you, Heather, especially here on this day.
I bet. Well, and look at the sun is shining. We may get some wonderful weather today.
Some Canadian sunshine.
I was wondering, as we were looking at the archival footage we have of the coronation, if you had any personal memories. You wouldn't be even 10 years old at the time. You're saying vague, you were saying to me in the commercial
I do have
break.
memories, and of course of the television, but we didn't see television in our town at that time, but we certainly got the clips of it, and those memories come back now, of course, when we're 60 years later.
But you could not have imagined that the boy of less than 10 at that point would be the representative of the Queen in Canada one day.
Could not imagine.
I mean, that's an amazing leap. What do you think of that in
well,
assessing it?
Canada's an amazing place.
It certainly is. Listen, I'm just wondering, as we celebrate the Queen, what is it like to be not just the representative of the Queen, but this particular Queen?
Well, she is quite remarkable, isn't she? 60 years as our Queen. Remarkable record of service. Seen so much history in her lifetime, so many changes. And, of course, is responsible for a constitutional monarchy that has served our country very well, evolved over the decades. And we're so fortunate to have the form of government we have, a constitutional monarchy with parliamentary democracy.
Can I ask you about that? How often, when you speak about that, do people say to you, really? I mean, how often do you have to answer the question about whether Canada needs the Queen? That some people think, some people who'll be watching us this morning, think of Canada as maybe in a state of arrested development, 21st century Canada with another country's head of state as ours.
Well, Heather, that question comes in many different forms, but the core of it is our system of government. And as I look around the world at other governmental institutions, I think we're very fortunate, and I think most other countries would say the same. It's a little bit unusual, but it's evolved over history, and it fits the kind of people we are. We're a people who have been able to accommodate difference, to respect the rule of law, to respond to the needs of people through our democratic institutions. And I think we found the right balance between rights and responsibilities. And of course, the Queen and the constitutional monarchy is the guarantee of that system of government, those rights and liberties. I was speaking on Radio Canada yesterday, for example, and what does the Crown mean for French Canadians? Well, that's the fountain of the protection of language, culture, of faith, and of a very special system of law. Somehow it works in Canada.
Let's move beyond talking about constitutional monarchy in the political sense or sense of government to the Queen herself personally. You have gotten to know her. You were one of the very few Canadians at the royal wedding last year. Can you give us some insight of exchanges you've had or moments you have shared with her?
Well, first of all, she and her husband are remarkably warm people. Genuinely so. We had the good fortune to spend a day and a half with them at Balmoral Castle, their Scottish place of residence, and we were so fortunate. It was in August. They love that place, and it's an 80,000-acre estate, so they secure the borders of the estate, but inside it's very informal. And we, of course, came with all sorts of costumes for state dinners and so on, and didn't have to put one of them on.
It was casual that way? It was
very much
relaxed?
so, and very much family. My wife loves horses, as does the Queen, so they spent several hours together discussing horses, and Sharon did not have appropriate shoes, so the Queen came down and said, try these. They were a pair of her shoes, which fit very well, and they had their walks. We did a barbecue on the estate. The Duke of Edinburgh was doing the barbecuing. I went to help him, and it was clear that this was something he would do very well. Venison was shot in the estate, and then went into the kitchen, and the Queen was setting the table, and so I assisted with that, and I gather that my table setting just met the necessary standard.
Did you end up washing up? Because your predecessor, Michaëlle Jean, was reminiscing about how she ended up doing the dishes as well at Balmore. You did the dishes as well?
Well, we certainly took the dishes out to the kitchen sink, yes.
That is just wonderful. Well, those are terrific memories. And, of course, here as we celebrate the 60 years, you are here to really, be Canada's presence. There's a lot of focus on the Commonwealth.
Represent the people of
Canada. You have a tremendous agenda, very busy. You were already part of the flotilla yesterday. Take us through some of the things that you're going to be involved in.
Well, it was extraordinary. We were told it was to be 1,000 boats on the Thames, a record. I think there were clearly more than 1,000. I certainly seemed to count to 2,000 or so, and we were on one of those boats. And then as we saw the multitudes of people on the banks along the way, they say more than 1 million. My heavens, it was extraordinary to see them 10 and 20 deep and standing there in the rain. And my striking memory always will be of the affection and the admiration that was so spontaneous. This is not organized. This is just people who care and demonstrate their care and their respect in this manifestation that was yesterday with the flotilla down the Thames.
And coming up, you're going to have a number of functions with various governors general and official state functions as well. And there's an unveiling of the portrait as well that Canada is responsible for. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, this is the third portrait of the Queen. It will be unveiled 2 days' time. The Prime Minister will be there, and we'll be bringing it back to Canada then. I haven't seen it, but from what I've heard from the artist and others who've been associated with it, it's quite a striking portrait, and I think we'll be very pleased.
We'll look forward to that when it's unveiled on Wednesday. Just before I let you go to resume your agenda, you talked about the affection that you could see on the banks of the Thames yesterday. What is it that you think has made the Queen popular, has made her respected and admired by those people you saw yesterday and those who you encounter in your day-to-day life?
I think first is the enduring qualities, a person who stood for service, a person who has been steadfast in this notion of serving all of our peoples. And I think a person who represents a form of government that is very precious, as I mentioned at the outset of our discussion today. And as we look at how one deals with change in the world, how one deals with differences within a population, we're very blessed to have the constitutional monarchy with our parliamentary democracy in Canada today.
Your Excellency, thank you so much for giving us some time, and we'll be following along as you celebrate here in London the Diamond Jubilee.
Great to be with you, Heather, as always.
Canada's Governor General David Johnston. Thank you so much, sir.